Hello, welcome to today's live. I'm going to be talking with Pernille, who's the founder of the Gut Company. Um, so while we're waiting for Pernille to come live, hi, okay. I'm just gonna wait for Pernille to join. I am just gonna say I'm a big fan of quality supplements. Here we go. Yeah, this is definitely something that so many of us can learn from. So I'm just checking if it's working. Hello. So good to talk to you today. And I was just going to say, I'm such a big fan of really and believe in really good healthy supplements. A little backstory is when after I had my second child, I really suffered to hormonal balance and mood swings, and I was just not understanding what was happening. Even a good night's sleep wasn't doing the trick. And I was living in Japan, and I remember a friend of mine who's a naturopath and recommended me somebody else who did some hair tests, and even it was amazed how much of everything we absorb can be seen in a hair test, right? It's just a little parenthesis. Even a contact lens solution was like what. And yeah, it was fascinating, and and I got the right supplements to bring me back to speed. And so when I found you on Instagram and follow you and see you are specialized and really know your what you're talking about, and also present things in such a beautiful, inspirational way. Style is important, and beauty and simplicity. So thank you for joining this live.
Thank you for having me.
Where are you tuning in from?
I'm in Sydney. So I've been in Sydney since 2001. I grew up in Denmark. My name probably gives it away.
Yes.
I then lived in London for a few years, and then I came here in 2001, and this is home. But I think my heritage comes through the design and the aesthetics of things. But yeah, Sydney's my home and has been for 21 years now. And you?
Right. Yes, I'm in Paris now. Yeah. Yes. After many years in Tokyo, this is home for now. Yeah.
Lucky.
It's great. Yeah. So uh, so yeah, it's a bit dark here because winter or autumn, and yeah, and just getting used to. Also, I was on the mat, so like my things and gonna wrap around, and
Born
with,
and it's
I was with
and it's night where we are, so it's two opposites right now. So that's why, and obviously you have summer coming, and you're going into winter.
yes, exactly, and going through a right transition season. I mean, I know we're opposite seasons, but the body feels it, right? I mean, um, I know in with spring it's more like anticipation to summer, and maybe we have more energy naturally, and in autumn it's like, oh, okay. And then I like the northern, the hippie lifestyle, which makes it so beautiful, the law of the dark days, and having these rituals with candles and things, just yeah, for the morale, right, for the heart. um, but also I know that you say everything starts in the gut, right? The well-being balance a lot. I mean, you'll tell us in a moment. And if we're going through transitional season, if it's nature season, life change, stressful moments, um, yeah, it just affects our whole system, right? And so even if we are now on opposite hemispheres, yeah, what can you tell us? I mean, this is such a broad thing. So what can you tell us? The energy is affected, right? The skin condition, the hair condition, the everything is just so linked. It's not
Yeah,
just one thing. And but it does originate, or a lot of it, in the gut. I mean, we're learning so much more about also the gut-mind connection, and how much of our nervous system depends on what's happening in the gut and in the heart. And so, yeah, you're a clinical nutritionist and a naturopath, and what do you see as are the biggest concerns, very kind of broad, when we go through transitional seasons?
I mean, obviously, I started the Gut Co for a reason, and it's not, I don't, people that I used to see in clinic were not all coming with gut issues, but I always started in the gut, because even if it was a hormonal issue or mood issue or acne, diabetes, I knew I would get a lot better results if I looked at the gut first, because otherwise you're just kind of putting Band-Aid on. And I think I'll just spend a little bit of time explaining why that is, because it sounds a bit like why, there's so many reasons, but I think the most profound one, when I realized, and this was like quite far into my study that I, studying as a naturopath and a herbalist, that I realized, we talk about you are where you eat, and you can discuss whether that's true or not, but, we understand now that what you put in your body is going to show up, in your skin, in your hair, but more importantly, in how you feel.
Yeah.
And I think it dawned on me that the gut is the foundation, because, and now we know so much more, but back then, we're talking 15 years ago, we didn't know as much as we do now. But I realized if you're not assimilating the nutrients from the food that you eat, you are not going to be able to have the building blocks for healthy hormones, or being able to heal whatever is broken in your body, or prevent that cancer from breaking out, or strengthening that immune system. You might get 30% of your nutrients, which will never be enough. So you're always going to feel fatigued, and, it escalates, and you might do this 2 years, you might be okay. The body's pretty resilient, but you do that for 10, 15, and that's when you suddenly go, oh, I suddenly have this. Where did that come from? It didn't just happen overnight. It happened because we haven't been able to get the nutrients, and whether that's because we haven't eaten the right foods. Many people that is the case, but for most people it's because they're not assimilating the nutrients from the food that they eat. So we need to sort that out first and foremost, because when the body gets what it needs, it's capable of a lot of things. It will do what it needs to do. It wants to do those things. It doesn't need, doesn't even need supplements if our soil was really as good as it used to be.
Yeah, that's. I heard that it's decreased drastically. What was it?
It really, like,
four apples instead of one.
But in Australia, we don't have zinc in the soil. There's not. Even if you eat a really healthy organic diet, you're still not going to get zinc from the food they eat, and you won't be getting enough magnesium. So that's just the two things we know. There's probably a lot more that we don't know yet, but that's the truth. We're not getting what we need from the food that we grow in the soil that's deplete. So that's one thing. But I think even if we gave our body everything that it needs, if the gut is not able to assimilate the nutrients, then again, you're going to be in deficit. And when you're in deficit, there's a cascade of things that can happen. So that's number one. But then as time went on, we learned that 70% of the immune system resides in the gut. So if the gut is unhealthy, that's going to have a negative impact on the immune system. We also know that serotonin is made in the gut, 90%. So that's your happy hormone. You can imagine if you only get 10% from the gut, then you got to get 10%, and that's only 20%. Of course, that's going to leave you feeling not so excited about life. And then we've learned that the brain, we used to think that the brain called all the shots. Like the brain would just tell everything in the body what to do. And now we learned that, the gut actually talks more to the brain than the brain talks to the gut. And that's why we call the gut the second brain. So it's just exploding, the research. And it's exciting. But I think, even though there's new stuff coming out, I always go back to the fact, which, as a naturopath, we've done, even before my time, it's always been look at the gut first. And, we didn't try. And this was when we used to be called witches, and we were burned on the fire pits. Now it's a bit, I'm talking about this for centuries. There's something to it. So it's just so nice to actually have all this research, and people now, when I start talking about the gut, they don't go, I don't I mean, with my skin, you know, they get it. So we've come a long way, and I think there's a lot of hope. So that, I think, coming back to why I'm doing what I'm doing, it's really because for so many years I saw what impact a good or a bad gut could have in people's lives, and I wanted to create products that would help people, you know, add to the good things, and being living a modern life. And your work, I salute you, because I say you because I can't do that work, and I'm obviously busy doing other things. But I always say that you need tools. You cannot just take supplements. You need tools to calm down. Now we also understand how much stress impacts the gut and overall health. Yeah. So I call them adaptogens, which are these herbs that help support the adrenal glands, which is where your stress hormones are released from. But I can't prevent that from happening or help them manage it so that next time there's a stressful situation, which for some people, you know, is 10 times a day. It's not just on a Friday after work. It's continuous, and it's detrimental to your health. You know, it's almost like if they don't do the work that you do or live a life that's prehistoric, I can't really do that much for them. Do you know what I mean? It's got to go in hand, because if you keep banging with these stress hormones and not kind of learning how to, I'm not saying you can in every moment, because I certainly can't, but you know, just being able to know when it's coming on and doing the breath work or whatever works for people. So that's again something that I think in the last 5 to 10 years has really come to the surface, and I'm really pleased that there's people like you in the world helping people with that. So thank you.
Yeah. It's a pleasure. It's also, and I think also knowing that you can take a supplement that will support you, right, and that brings this it's a kind of called a chemical balance in the body, or you know, it is like, okay, I'm feels like, you know, I've got like, I'm supported, I'm not alone, because sometimes it's just so people who suffer from, you know, I remember when I was suffering from something, and I just didn't know what to do anymore, because I was eating organic, you know, and the more I was looking at organic food and so on, the more I was looking at soil, and the more I was looking at the you know, what's happening in the soil and the water, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's just, it can be very interesting, but can also be quite dark, and so having that external, you know, this really high quality
and that's
aids, and you can make these amazing dishes with it. I mean, you share that so well.
Yeah, and I think people, I mean, we just released a multivitamin called Multitasker, and I've been working on it for over a year, because I wanted to have those adaptogens in there while also having activated B vitamins and all the minerals that I know we don't get from the soil anymore. So it was hard to kind of get everything into one, and working with, you know, the biochemists, they're all like, why can't we take some of these adaptogens out? And I was like, well, they're almost more important than the vitamins, because people are eating food, you know, so say they get maybe 50% from the food, please, maybe they do, but they're not going to get any adaptogens from, unless they eat mushrooms, and they do that, you know, really high.
Interesting.
But a supplement, and I think the way that we live our lives, well, it's just so hectic. You know, there's always, people are multitasking like we've never had before. There's a lot of pressure on people, and I think most people need that support. They just need ongoing stress support. And then because we've been running on empty, we also need the support at the other end, which is building up that energy. That's, you know, not the caffeine energy that brings you up and go, oh, I'm takes you down. It's steady, supported energy. So I think for anyone who lives that life, and I think 99% of the people I know live that kind of life, they need that on a daily basis, just to not burn out, and also to feel good about, come Friday, you're not just crashing in front of Netflix and the rest of the weekend you're just kind of recovering from the week. You want to be able to then have a good time if you've got kids or friends or family. You want to enjoy the good times as well.
Definitely.
So I think that's where I'm coming from. It's not, you can't do anything, because I find people see a naturopath and then they're told you can't do this and you can't do that. And, there are times when you might have to live without certain things because you're going through a severe health crisis.
Yeah.
But most can do most things in moderation and then with a little bit of support.
Yeah. It's
So,
finding that balance, right?
yeah, I think
And
so.
because yeah, I read the book about called Dopamine Nation, and it's very interesting, and it talks about like multitasking and how it affects how stress, subconscious stress, because most of us, we're like, no, we're not stressed. We think we're absolutely not stressed, and we can do all these things at the same time. We can, moms, we've been doing multitask. We multitask because we have to, but and then yes, we can, but do we then continue to bring it into other parts in our life? And men also multitask all the time. And nowadays, it's just so the subconscious stress, right, and creating inflammation in the body. I mean, so what happens in the gut? What can you tell us a little bit? When we're constantly in that sympathetic nervous system.
So when you, I think the most important part for me is I want people to digest their foods really well, because then I know they get the nutrients and then they're going to feel better and then they're going to go when I help them with other things. So the first thing I explain to them is the rest and digest mode, which is, when you're relaxed, and that's the mode you want to be in when you eat. So doing breath work just before, and I often just say to people, and you might think this is not right, but I just say breathe in for 5, exhale for 5, do that 5 times. That's something people can remember. It's not a lot to ask, because they're running around in the office and then they sit down, they got to eat and everything is racing. If you eat like that, because the blood has gone to the extremities, so you stressed, is what we call fight or flight mode. What you set up for is to run from that lion that we used to,
yes, I know. We still say it on the yoga.
So counts and get out of there. Or if we think we can fight it, we might fight it. Maybe not a lion, but something else. So it's kind of that heightened state. The adrenaline is going, the blood is going to the extremities because you're going to run really fast now, or you're going to fight really hard. There's no blood running around in the digestive system. There's no action. It comes to a standstill. So you eat like that. There's no juices being excreted like your enzymes and your bitters from your liver. So food will not be broken down. It just sits in your stomach. And this is when you might see undigested food coming out the other end, or when you just have that, you probably get heartburn or just feel really uncomfortable for a few hours after eating, because there's nothing there to actually do the work for you. Right. So that's so important to get into that rest state before you eat. And it kills me walking down the street rushing and they're eating at the same time.
Yes, what is with that? It's like constantly with something, and you're like, can you sit down, take a moment, even for a coffee or whatever? It's like, okay. Stress with stress.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
Okay, interesting. So you're saying, so before eating, you suggest coming into a rest state. And so a lot of people, I teach yin yoga, and it's such an amazing form of yoga, because it's based in traditional Chinese medicine, which is has effects on your immune system and emotions and so on. But it's something that a lot of people associate only with the evening. Like, okay, we only rest in the evening and then we pass out. I love to practice it in the morning, but yeah, okay, that's just the way we are, and it's more, we have more time in the evening too, and don't have to go somewhere. So when we talk about sleep, or let's talk about sleep. Let's talk about the evening, like when we are coming into a more rest state, or we hopefully are coming into a rest state, and we're not binge watching and passing out in front of Netflix. So what's the best way for the body to recover? What was there anything, and I mean supplement wise, but is there also something that you can combine it with, to really regenerate so that you do come into that beautiful REM sleep?
So I'm a good sleeper, which I feel terrible saying because I know a lot of people aren't. We're just developing a sleep supplement, and the things, and you can get this in tea. Some people, the supplement we are developing is quite effective. So we've done 2 tablets because we realize some people need 1 and other people need 2. I've seen the spectrum. There's some people who just find it hard to fall asleep, and then there's people who wake up every hour, and so you've got to cater for both. But I think anyone can find the tea or and probably other supplements that are not as strong. And I think the ones to look out for is passion flower is one of my favorite ones. You have that as a tea. It just calms you, and it just makes you stop kind of racing in your head. And you can also take sisyphus, which is another herb. Magnesium is really great for relaxing your muscles. So I like to take that at night time rather than in the morning. I don't take it every night. I probably take it a few times a week. But I do like that feeling of my muscles, just especially yoga or workout. And then I think more importantly for people who just don't need that extra herbal help, but just, it's all about a routine, right? It's about telling your body every night, this is what we do and this is what's going to happen. So I like to just, maybe an hour before bed, I always dim the lights and make sure that, I'm not walking around in the kitchen that's completely lit up. I might prepare tea. I have something, whether it's my collagen or my tea or my magnesium, because again, it's a ritual. It's like telling me to slow down. There's no around. We've got to say goodnight to the kids. That's fine. They're a bit older now, so it doesn't have to be like at 8 o'clock. But it's very, like I do the same thing and then go upstairs and say goodnight to everyone. If the kids are not in bed, they now understand that once mum is in her bedroom, that's it. Don't, unless it's something. But I go in there, and then once I'm in there, the only thing that can happen in that room, like there's no screens, it's just starting to kind of get ready for bed, and everything is kind of a bit dark. And then I just, I might read before bed, or I just lie there and I just think about the day. Like I say, thank you for everything, whatever. I try not to focus on the stuff that I don't want to say, that I think it's just... All right, I'll deal with that tomorrow. I try and focus on what I'm grateful for. So it always comes back to, the things that everyone is grateful for, which, family, friends, the dogs, whatever it is. But I think you always find something.
Yeah.
And I think just not, this is not a time to focus on your worries. I always turn off the phone. I don't go any social media. I don't do emails 45 minutes. If I have to, I wear glasses, but I try not to, because I don't want to get excited, whether it's good excitement or bad excitement. I don't want to tell that goes, oh, this is so great, or, oh no, I've got to deal with it. I just don't want to know. So it's kind of my whole evening, or the last hour is kind of built around that. And I just find that is probably, and I sell supplements, but that's probably more effective than
No, supplements are great though, and they are just to support and to feel, and I don't want to say just, because it's massive impact right on you, and herbs,
very effective.
Some back. Those rituals together, they're more powerful
for sure.
And gorgeous. I can.
So many, my neighborhood, my sister. They just have to have them every night, and it just makes them feel relaxed, and the mind, and then they can kind of drift off.
Beautiful. I can't wait. Yay. And I'm curious, because I know, just what was the first product that you launched for the gut.com?
So Feed was the first one. I kind of concocted it myself. I was seeing clients, and I had my head deep in the research, and prebiotics have always been a huge part of my treatment because we're just not getting enough from the food that we eat. So prebiotics are found in onion, garlic, asparagus, leek. And, you know, unless you're having these foods every day, and people with gut issues normally steer clear of these foods because they make them feel bloated. So they end up with no prebiotics. It's kind of catch-22 because you need prebiotics, but they make you feel bloated. So I found prebiotics that were low in FODMAPs, which means that they're not going to bloat people who have gut issues. And I couldn't get them in Australia, so I had people buy them online. And then eventually I started to buy bulk, and I started to mix them, and I added some probiotics in there that I knew. Again, I'm coming from the point of view that we have changed our lifestyles completely, but and then also, you know, going through a lot of stress, and we are putting our bodies through things that we were not, I wouldn't say meant to, but our DNA hasn't caught up with modern living, right? So we're still kind of stuck in prehistoric times, where we're in the land. You know, we wouldn't be washing our hands all the time. We'd be pulling out a carrot and eating it without maybe just dusting off some dirt. So that's how we got our probiotics. We got them from the dirt, the soil that we put our produce in. Maybe we got a little bit from the animals that we were surrounded with. Again, hygiene wasn't, and there's a reason we had to change that, but it enabled us to get a daily dose of probiotics. So feed, I didn't want to put in probiotics that were meant for specific things. So strains, probiotics, from a naturopath point of view, they're great because it's like a toolbox. We go, that strain can be used for that issue. This strain can be used for that. But for general health, you don't want to give your gut all kinds of strains because some of them may not be good for you and not meant for your body. So you want to give the kind of probiotics that are found in the soil. So that's why I added soil-based probiotics to feed, because that's what we used to get daily. And we're just not getting that anymore because few of us are growing our own food, and few of us have animals living in the house. And most of us wash our hands every time we touch an animal or every time we've had our hands dirty. And I'm not talking about the supermarket. But I always say to the kids, play with the dogs, get dirty, don't worry about it. It's soil, you know, it's not going to hurt you. But do wash your hands when you come home from the supermarket. I know that, you know, because people always ask me, why are so many people suffering with gut issues? And I think it's because we are not exposing our bodies to these probiotics, and we're not getting prebiotics from the food that we eat. In addition to that, we might have a bit of alcohol, we might have some gluten, we are definitely exposed to stress. So our bodies getting bombarded, but we're not actually supporting it with what it needs. So I always say to people, before you go and buy a multivitamin, you should go and have pre and probiotics. That should be the base for everyone, because once you have it, it improves your gut, means that when you then buy the multivitamins, you're probably going to absorb 80% of what's in them instead of 20%. So you get more.
That is so, so that's why that was, and what was it called, what's it called, the first one you launched?
Feed. So that's my pre and probiotic powder. And then after that I did repair, because the gut, when you look at from a naturopathic point of view, the gut is there's two aspects to it. So there's the microbiome, and then there's the gut lining. And the gut lining, what repair kind of looks after. It feeds, so it doesn't feed the good bacteria. It heals the gut lining because it has collagen, glutamine, and aloe vera. And then it also has vitamins that looks after the gut lining. But all those things also look after the skin. So that's why I call it gut and skin, because it's for the gut lining as well as the skin. So I was just mixing those up, putting labels on, giving it to people, and then I started seeing the results, and I was like, I think I'm going to do a bit more than this, and then I took it to manufacturing and had it properly done.
Thank you so much for doing this and for making it available. This is fascinating. I could talk to you for hours. It's so fascinating, and how it's so linked to to lifestyle and awareness and taking action and a lot of people, when we don't take act, nothing changes if we don't change, right? And looking at what we do and what we eat and what we think, what we our thoughts have an effect on us. And it's like and our environment and energetically and so on. So super fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing this. I mean, you're just so inspiring, and thriving, stunning mom, entrepreneur, and healer with everything you share. What do you have a ritual that you want to share? I know you shared a bit the evening ritual, but is there something that you're like, when you wake up, this is what I do. It works for me. So,
Yeah, I'm a routine freak, which I don't.
I love that. Me too.
I know. I just think sometimes maybe I need to break it a little, but I do. Most days, I get up really early. I do like to get up when the sun rises. At the moment, it's around 5:15, and then I make myself like a lukewarm water with a bit of lemon. I then start the coffee machine. But, before that heats up and gets ready, I get ready, and then I grab my coffee. I put it in a thermos, and I go to the gym, or I go for a walk, or I do some kind of exercise. I always do movement. If I don't move in the morning, I just feel like my day is not complete. It makes me happy. It just fills me with joy. It's like my body's begging me. Like sometimes I even think, because my day is so packed, I get to the evening and I think, I wish I could just do something. And I probably could, but then there's cooking, and then there's kids, and before I know it's 9 o'clock, and I'm in bed by 9:15. So yes, because everyone is asleep. I enjoy watching. I always go outside. I have 2 dogs, so I take them outside, and I just enjoy that morning sound. It's a few birds. It's special, and the sun and the light. But the movement, I think, for me it's always been there. And maybe in my youth, it was high intensity. I did do a little bit of that stuff. But I think even, in my mid-30s, I started to slow down. I realized it was all about strength for me. It's always been about strength. I love doing weights. I love doing yoga, using my own body as that kind of resistance. I love doing Pilates. So I just love, I don't think I'm particularly good at any of it, but I just love moving.
Yeah, that's the most important. When you love, you love, or you do what you love, and it brings you joy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's also my meditation. I feel like, I can clear my mind, especially when I'm doing yoga and they ask me, breathe, do that. And I'm like, and by the end, like an hour goes by and I think that was 5 minutes, because I'm so into it and I just lost my mind in it. And that's, I haven't thought about dinner or about work. All I thought about is how do I get my arm in that position while I'm breathing like that.
Being totally present in the moment. Yeah.
Yes. Find my heart.
Yeah.
So that's my, that's gets me through anything, really. Whatever it is that life throws at me, that's my...
The rituals. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And your rituals, your collection, it's very inspiring and lifestyle and accessible with the tools and with the products that you brought out, and and it's things like I'm thinking of the festive season coming up, and it's like what are we going to give, and I really want to give things that supports and support better living and feeling better, and rather than coming with too much, I don't know, a bottle of something or this and that, and it's just like I think it's a really great gift for some, for others too.
I've that in mind, because people always give me candles, and I don't really burn candles. I don't know why. I've got so many, and they're always, you know, Christmas, I get 5 candles, and I just think must be something else. And I don't need anything, and I certainly don't need supplements. But I think it's a nice gesture to give health, right? To
Yeah.
say, here's a little bit of health. So we did actually do a box that's called Recovery Pack, which has a little bottle. We have like this shaker bottle, and to get closer to Christmas, I'll send you some. But I just think, I don't think people will get offended. I think they'll think, oh, this is nice. You know, it's a good way to kind of introduce other people to stuff that you appreciate.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. And yeah, look forward to catching up offline with you. Have a
Sure.
have a
So
lovely
lovely you. Nice to see you. Like
nice to see
almost
you too. Thank you.
a person now.
Okay.
Have a lovely
Yeah, thank you. Will do.
day.
Bye.
Bye.